may differ between one person and another. Some people have more innately, I mean, they are burdened with more of a life, of a death instinct from within than others, and then certainly the environment matters, and if something goes wrong in the environment, let's say if a child has not been properly mothered, properly contained, then the child is in some way left with more of a battle with his death instinct that did not get ameliorated by a containing mother that could make things a little bit better, right? But in any case, the personality may have an excess of hate of reality, an excess of death instinct or destructiveness, and what else?
Dread of imminent annihilation.
A dread of imminent annihilation, which go together, isn't it? I mean, if one has an excess of a feeling of destructiveness, then that will also affect what you think will happen to yourself. You feel like a bomb that could explode, and that is the dread of imminent annihilation. You think that you will die, that something will kill you. You may project it outwardly, and then you think that someone will come and get you, but that is just an attempt at projecting your own destructiveness out there. Of course, in addition, you may be in a war and someone may come and kill you, but then there is also the contention of Freud and Klein that wars do happen and people kill each other because they have death instinct, that this is the why the war. Freud has a very interesting article called Why the War, right?
What's it called?
Why the war?
Why the war?
Why the war? And it's all about that, right? I mean, the human being is able to attack its own equals, right, its own pairs, because of its destructiveness. Ultimately, we are predators, whether we like it or not, and we are burdened with destructiveness. Civilization is trying to make things better, but we know that they haven't gotten any better. The wars have gotten more sophisticated, but people can now kill with a blow of a nuclear bomb many more people in a minute than people were killed in years of the Crusades, for instance. So has civilization made things better? Are we less destructive than before? No, we are actually more destructive than before, right? So there is no way around destructiveness. This is something that...
It's interesting to think about very primitive beings like the praying mantis and some fish who eat their young.
Yeah.
And how, whether there's a connection, to that very primitive organism in the sense of human beings, despite our development, could be that destructive.
Well, there is a continuity, one would say, right? I mean, less developed creatures in the living species have a less sophisticated way of expressing the death instinct, right? The mother fish may devour the little ones. What happens in wars? The old people send the young people to die in the front. This is another way of killing your children. It may be not your biological children, but still, the President of the United States is not going to be killed in a war. He doesn't go to the front, nor the generals that command the army. They send the young people to die. They get PTSD if they survive at all, right? Which is a way of saying, well, we kill our children. I mean, we have a propensity of killing our children. We may put that in the guise of civilization. We have to defend democracy. Well, so we have to kill people to teach them that killing people is wrong. But we do the same thing, don't we? In the end. I'm just saying, there is no way around. In any case, let us get back a moment. The conflict then with the hatred of reality and so on and so forth is that the first thing that we don't want to see or is hard to acknowledge is who we are and how destructive we can be, that we are not just loving and lovable creatures, that yes, we are that, but not only, that we can also be pretty awful, and we don't want to be very awful, but this is the way we have been made, so what can we do?
So does that represent then a departure from Kleinian's way of thinking, which I thought put the emphasis on the loss of the object as the predominant cause of anxiety, as opposed to the destructiveness of the self?
No. I think no. I mean, the loss of the object does leave a child in the lurch, because then there is no object to project the destructiveness into. The first task of the mother for a child is the ability to scream and yell and to project.
To take in the projections, metabolize them.
Exactly. If there is no object available, then the child has to suck it up and get to grips as best it can, and the baby is not fit to do that by himself, right? But it's not only that. It's also that if you have to think of something about yourself that you don't like, that causes a depression. I mean, not necessarily what we understand as a psychiatric depression, but a kind of a depression. You say, wow, I thought better of myself. I didn't realize that I can be that naughty, that mean, right? Yeah, I don't want to know that. Yes, go ahead.
Is that then an attack on the perceptual apparatus?
Well, one of the defenses, and the most extreme of the defenses against anything that you can't, any awareness that you can't bear, and that's not the only one, is ultimately, if you can't change the reality, if you can't change that you don't like about yourself or about the world, then what you can do is attack your perception, attack your awareness with all the parts of your I, ego, mind, apparatus, whatever you want to call it for the purposes the same, that brings awareness to you of that you don't want to know.
And would that be a Bionian definition of dissociation, or?
No. Well, wait a minute. Okay. No definition yet. We will get there. We will get there. That's the next chapter. It's all right.
So, what constitutes the attack itself? Is it denial, or what is it?
We will talk about that in a second, but I want to get back a minute to why the reality is hatred. The hatred of reality, we only focus now on the inner reality, the reality of who you are. But that's not all. For instance, your realization that you are dependent, that in order to live you need others, and that's right from the start. You needed a couple of parents to be conceived of in the first place. You couldn't make yourself all alone. I remember a psychotic patient that I treated who could not get over her resentment of the parents because they didn't check with her whether she wanted to be made in the first place. Well, how could they? Right? But this is a narcissistic injury to say it can't be, right, that I had no decision over what my parents did before I was born. When she had to drive herself psychotic because she couldn't bear that awareness. She also couldn't bear, when I say she, I mean in general now, right? What can make a patient psychotic, that is the narcissistic injury. Narcissistic injury meaning, I want to be who I want to be. I don't want to need anybody. I want to have an image of myself the way I like it. I want to live in a world the way I like it. No frustration. Everything has to be nice and satisfactory. I can't bear anything other. Well, that's not the way reality is, whether we like it or not. Right? We are born, and our first loss is the life in the womb. We are just evicted, right, from a place we took for granted before we were born, and we didn't know what would happen outside, and things outside are different. We may have a good experience at the breast, but then the breast is not always there, and the experience is not always that good. Mother's mood may fluctuate, mother may come a little bit later than expected, mother may not always understand our needs, and so on. Then we have to realize that we are not even mother's only love object, that mother has also daddy, who she may also love, and we have to take turns. When mother is with daddy, she can't be with us. Worse than that, mother may have other children that came before us or come after us, and then we have to share even more. Well, that's not like the life in the womb.
Or at the same time.
Or at the same time, good, right, which is difficult too, right? So you get a lesser share. That's really a feeling of the loss of Eden, or the narcissistic loss, which, if you are you're endowed with more of a feeling of hate and destructiveness, will make things worse for you. And since you can't change things as they are, I mean, you can't separate father from mother, and if father and mother would separate because you wish that they did separate, well, then you have to struggle with your feeling of guilt, because now you will think that father and mother, because of what you think you did, you managed to separate them, will get at you, right, because of what you did to the couple. So now you have to struggle with a persecutory feeling. I mean, what I'm just implying is that there is no way around. Things can't be perfect, and some personalities can bear that frustration better than others, depending on their innate endowment, more or less ability to tolerate frustration. Fortunately, most of us tolerate these kinds, the everyday frustrations, pretty well, and we only get very disturbed when some excess happens, right? I mean, soldiers get psychotic in the war, but many of them, were they not to be sent to the war, they would probably be relatively normal people. But if there is an excess, that may be too much for your ego, mind, psyche. It's just synonyms. You can't handle it anymore. Now, the way then that in an extreme you will defend yourself is exactly what we were talking about, right? That is, attacking not only your objects that are frustrating you, but attacking your awareness of those objects, thinking that if you manage to blind yourself, and not only blind yourself literally, but to attack likewise your mind just in the same way as Oedipus blinded himself, then you will be better off, because now you don't have to know what you can't bear to know. Now, in what way, what was your question? Because I think now we're getting to
The
that.
question has to do, what constitutes an attack on one's perceptual apparatus?
Okay.
You know, if I can't bear to see something, what is it that I'm actually doing? Am I denying? Am I, you know, what is the attack, I guess is what I'm asking.
All right. Well, very good. Let's see if anyone can respond to that. And this is the essence of what we're going to deal with today.
Could you ask it again?
Well, if we say we attack our perceptual apparatus, what is the attack? How am I doing that? Am I denying something that I see this, but I deny it? Or what is the mechanism or the process is what I'm asking.
Oh, very good. It's an excellent question.
Would it